The Architecture of Identity, a comprehensive character analysis of Hanson Alister in the Seven Realms and Shattered Realms series. The character of Hanson Alister, predominantly known as Hans or Cuffs during his formative years in the rag market, serves as the primary lens through which Cindo Williams Chima explores the themes of socioeconomic mobility, historical revisionism, and the reconciliation of marginalized identities within her fantasy universe. Alister's narrative trajectory is characterized by a radical metamorphosis from a localized gang leader to a global political and magical architect, a journey that mirrors the systematic transformation of the Queendom of the Fells from a fragmented, wizard-oppressed state to a unified, modernized nation. This analysis examines the multi-layered facets of Alister's character, his psychological evolution, and the ontological shift he undergoes across the tetralogy and into the subsequent Shattered Realms series. The Urban Crucible, Socioeconomic Foundation of Cuffs Alister. The genesis of Hanson Alister's character is inextricably linked to the geography of the rag market and Southbridge slums in Fellsmarch. As the street lord of the Raggers, a gang composed largely of destitute children and adolescents, Hand exists as an absolute bottom of the Fellsian social hierarchy. His early identity is defined by the nickname Cuffs, a monkey derived from the thick silver bracelets he has worn since birth. Mysterious artifacts that expand as he grows and resist all attempts at removal. These cuffs are not merely jewelry, they are physical manifestations of the societal and magical restraints placed upon him by an unknown past. Hand's leadership style within the Raggers is markedly different from that of a typical criminal antagonist. Chima utilizes the noble thief archetype, presenting Han as a strategic, protective figure who adheres to a rigid internal code of honor. His primary motivation is the survival of his mother and his younger sister Mary, and the protection of the kiddies, young thieves, under his command. This communal responsibility highlights a core trait that persists throughout the series, a profound sense of loyalty that often manifests as self-sacrifice. The Cultural Shield, Thieves' Cant, and the Linguistic Identity. The authenticity of Hand's street background is reinforced through his mastery of Thieves' Cant, a specialized sociolect derived from historical 18th century and Resurgency era Britain criminal slang. This language serves as a dual purpose. It functions as an encrypted method of communication for the urban poor and the cultural barrier that excludes the blue bloods, nobility, and the blue jackets, the Queen's Guard. Hand's ability to navigate this linguistic landscape provides him with an early education in subtext and information control, skills that he later translate into the realm of high politics. His transition away from this life at the beginning of The Demon King is a conscious choice driven by the realization that Street Lord rarely survive past the age of 20. This pragmatic foresight disguises Hand from his rivals and initiates his transformation into a figure of national importance. The ontological weight of the silver cuffs. The silver cuffs are the most significant physical motif in Hand's early development, acting as both a symbol of his identity and a mechanism of literal suppression. Within the narrative framework, the cuffs function as magical manacles that drain Hand's natural magical high power, preventing him from manifesting as a wizard. This suppression is not merely a plot device, it is a profound metaphor for systematic silencing of the marginalized. The fact that the cuffs expand with Hand indicates a biological or magical link to his parenthood, suggesting that his oppression was designed to grow with his potential. This extrinsic constraint on his intrinsic power forces Hand to develop non-magical skills, stealth, hand-to-hand combat, and tactical reasoning, which eventually make him more dangerous than a wizard who had relied solely on magic from birth. When the cuffs are eventually removed, the release of his muzzled magic is described as terrifying in its magnitude, precisely because it has been building behind these silver dams for 16 years. The Alister Diaspora, Tragedy and the Drive for Vengeance. The defining emotional pivot of Hand's early life is the destruction of his home and the subsequent death of his mother and sister. Framed for murders committed by others and pursued by the Queen's Guard, Hand witnesses the total disintegration of his world. This tragedy serves to strip Hand of his primary domestic anchor, his role as a provider for his family, and replaces it with a singular, burning desire for accountability and justice. This loss facilitates Han's retreat into the Spirit Mountains and his deepening alliance with the clans, specifically the Domani and Marissa Pines camps. It is among the clans that Han receives a different kind of education, one focused on the natural world, botanical healing, and survival in the harsh upland climate. Here he adopts the name Hunts Alone, reflecting both his status as a solitary figure within the clan structure and his persistent isolation as a charmless individual in a world divided by wizard and clans folk. The Clan Alliance, a devil's bargain. Driven by grief and the need for resources to challenge the buyers, Han enters into a high-stakes agreement with the Domani clan. The clan agrees to sponsor his tuition at Mr. Work House, the prestigious wizarding academy in Odin's Ford, on the condition that he serves as their magical sellsword, or intelligence operative. This devil's bargain is a critical development step as it forces Han to weaponize his grief and the nascent magical talents for a political cause. It marks the point where Han ceases to be a victim of circumstance and begins to actively manipulate the circumstances of his realm. Pedological metamorphosis. Han Alister at Odin's Ford. Han's arrival at Mistwork House and the exiled queen represents a profound cultural clash. He is forced to shed his street-born habits and adopt the veneer of a blue-blood scholar to survive in an environment where he is surrounded by his deadliest enemies, including Micah and Fiona Byer. This phase of his life is studied in Masking, as Han utilizes the psychological resilience he developed in Rag Market to navigate the microaggressions and overthreats of the academy. The Crow persona and the ethics of power. While at Mistwork, Han's magical education is hampered between the formal regulated curriculum of Dean Abelard and the clandestine, dangerous tutoring of Crow. Crow is a metaphysical entity encountered in Edeon, the dream world, a realm accessible to wizards during sleep or deep meditation. Crow offers to teach Han the darker part of sorcery, ancient unfiltered magic that predates the restriction of the naming. The relationship between Han and Crow is complex and parasitic. In exchange for knowledge and power, Han allows Crow to possess his body, an arrangement that leaves Han physically and magically depleted. This bargain is a manifestation of Han's desperation. He is willing to risk his own autonomy and soul to gain the leverage necessary to protect himself and his allies from the buyers. It is later revealed that Crow is the spirit of Algar Waterlow, Han's direct ancestor, making him the apprenticeship a literal inheritance of power and burden. The dialects of love and identity, Han and Rhaeja. The most significant emotional and political axis in the series is the relationship between Han, Alister, and Princess Rhaeja Anna Mariana. Their paths first intersect in the slums of Fellsmarch, where Razia is in disguise as a commoner, and later at Odin's Ford, where they meet under the pretense of being fellow students. Razia as Rebecca Morley and Han as a scholarship wizard. Their attraction is predicated on a shared sense of rebellion against the constraints of their respective stations. However, their relationship is fundamentally built on a foundation of omission and potential betrayal. Han perceives Rebecca as an ally and an equal, while Razia sees Han as a fascinating enigma whose street-born wisdom provides her with the perspective the courts lack. The trauma of revelation. The revelation of Razia's true identity in the Great Wolf Throne is a moment of profound psychological crisis for Han. Finding Rebecca near death in the Spirit Mountains and realizing she is the heir to the throne he has come to despise causes a deep fracture in Han's worldview. He feels betrayed by the person he trusted most, viewing her royal status as insurmountable barrier and her lineage as responsible for the deaths of his mother and Mary. Despite their betrayal, Han's sense of honoring his commitment to the bargain with the clans compels him to continue protecting her. This tension between his personal resentment of the monarchy and his emerging role as the queen's protector defines the latter half of this arc. He must reconcile his love for the woman with his hatred for the institution she represents. The Sovereign Wizard, Han Alister, and the Wizards' Council. In the Crimson Crown, Han's transformation is complete as he ascends to the Wizard Council, and eventually position of the High Wizard. This transition is not merely a promotion, it is a tactical infiltration. He uses the unholy alliances and political maneuvering skills he learned in both the Rag Market and Odin's Ford to outmaneuver the established wizard elite. Han's approach to politics is fundamentally pragmatic. He understands that power is not just about magical capability, but about information and leverage. He navigates a complicated web of lies to protect Rasia's throne, often acting as the dark mirror to her noble diplomacy. While Rasia works to unify the realm through law and consensus, Han works in the shadows of the council to neutralize their common enemies through force and subterfuge. The Lost Armory and the Second Breaking. The climax of Han's political and magical arc involves the discovery of the Lost Armory, of magical weapons hidden beneath the Grey Lady. These weapons, remnants of the gifted kings who ruled before the Breaking, represent a level of power that could either save or destroy the Fells. Han's successful navigation of the geysers and traps leading to the armory is the cultivation of his street-born survival instincts and his wizardry. His refusal to use the weapons for simple conquest, despite being tortured by Gavin Bayer for their location, marks Han's final transition into a true leader. He chooses the leverage of the knowledge of the weapons and the threat of their use to stabilize the queendom, rather than indulging in the cyclical violence that led to the original Breaking. Historical reconstruction. The true Hanelia and the Demon King. The ultimate insight Han provides to the Seven Realms is the deconstruction of its central myth, the story of Hanelia and the Demon King. For a millennium, the Fells have been governed by the belief that the wizard Alger Waterlow was a demon who kidnapped and tortured Queen Hanelia, who then supposedly killed him to save the world. Han's research and his connection to Crow reveals a devastating truth. Hanelia and Alger were actually husband and wife, deeply in love, and were betrayed by the very wizard council that claimed to be their allies. The Breaking was not an actual act of malice by one man, but a catastrophic result of political betrayal and uncontrolled high magic. By revealing this secret, believed to be lost to history, Han provides the Fells with a new foundation narrative that allows for the unification of the wizards and the clans. If the legendary queen and the demon king were once family, then the current generations of wizards and clan folk can also find a path to coexistence. Magical synthesis and abilities. Han Alister's magical profile is unique in the Seven Realms because it represents a synthesis of high magic wizardry and green magic, clan earth magic. This hybridity is both biological due to his muddled ancestry and educational due to his training at both Mistwecker and the clan camps. High magic and flashcraft. Through the Waterlow amulet, Han has access to pre-breaking magic that is significantly more powerful than the restricted magic of contemporary wizards. His abilities include barrier spells and traps. They're used strategically to protect civilians or secure perimeters. Magical fire, overt offensive magic used primarily under the Siege of Fellsmarch. Illusions and maskings, derived from his time as a street lord, used to deceive enemies. Green magic and prophetic sight. Han's connection to clan grants him access to green magic, which is focused on healing and the natural world. A key turning point occurs in the Grey Wolf Throne when Han heals Rasia by sacrificing his own physical well-being, a profound act of empathetic magic that is rare for wizards. Furthermore, Han possesses the prophetic ability traditionally associated with Grey Wolf's queen. He can see the queen's wolves, spiritual entities that appear as omens of danger or opportunity. This confirms that Han is not just a descendant of the Demon King, but also potentially carries the blood of the Grey Wolf line, making him the ultimate bridge between the two most powerful dynasties in the Fells. Consort and legacy. Han Alister in the Fells. The conclusion of the Crimson Crown marks the marriage of Han and Rasia, establishing Han as the prince consort. This union is a symbolic end of the 1,000-year tragedy of Hanelia and Alger. As consort, Han serves as a vital balance to Rasia's rule. While she manages the overt diplomacy of the queendom, Han manages the internal security and magical stability of the realm. In the transition between the Seven Realms and the Shattered Realms series, Han's role shifts towards that of a father and a stabilizer. He is responsible for raising the next generation of leaders, including his son Adrian Ash, who inherits his healing abilities, and his daughters Hanelia and Alyssa. Under Han and Rasia's joint leadership, the Fells begin to modernize, integrating the technological advances of the southern kingdoms while maintaining the traditional powers of the clans. The finality of the hero, Han Alister in Shattered Realms. The ultimate resolution of Han's character arc occurs in Shattered Realms series, specifically the novel Flamecaster. By the age of 43, Han has become the most powerful wizard in the world, yet he remains rooted to his origins. His death occurs in Ragmarket and the very place where he began. Lured by a fake lead regarding the death of his daughter Hanella, this circularity is significant. Han dies in the streets where he was once Cuffs, the street lord who protected his family. His final act is one of the parental sacrifice, refusing to let his son Adrian risk his life to heal him from the assassin's poison. His final words, "Sometimes you need to let go," signifies his peace with his legacy and his transition from the active hero of the Fells to the foundational myth of the new realm. Conclusion. The architecture of a unified identity. Han Alister is a character defined by his capacity for integration. He is neither solely a thief nor solely a wizard. He is the thief-turned-wizard whose street-born pragmatism saved a queendom that once sought to hang him. His analysis reveals a figure who successfully navigated every social stratum of his world, from the deadly Nevergreen of the slums to the Grey Wolf throne of the palace. Han's legacy is the reunification of the Seven Realms, achieved not through conquest, but through the deconstruction of the historical lies that fueled a millennium of civil war. He remains a study in the dangerous charmer and the tragic hero, a man who was saved many times so that he could, in the end, save the future of the Grey Wolf line. His journey from silver cuffs of suppression to the crimson crown of leadership stands as a testament to the transformative power of identity and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of systematic oppression.